Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
You have a nice little setup there, like perfect for Zoom calls.
Yeah, it's been an investment. Branding, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good. I've got a bit of a croaky voice. I'm just letting you know that that's kind of a thing I have today that I have to deal with. So I have some water here that I might sip in between questions.
Same. I got the literal same setup as you
There you
even.
go. So
I
look at
know.
that. Same glass, same straw almost.
Yeah, it's cute. I love it.
So how you feeling?
Good. I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, well, like it's been a bit of a journey with you. I want to go all the way back to the beginning. Where did music start for you?
I've been thinking about this one often lately because it is a question that I get asked, and I think my answer has kind of changed the harder I've thought about this. And the easy answer would be to say, when I was in my young teens, I started playing guitar. But I think truly it started way sooner than I even realized that when I was really little, I was writing songs before I even realized that's what I was doing. And so I grew up on a farm and I spent a lot of time outside alone. I have a big family. There's five other kids, so six siblings or six kids total,
Ah,
five siblings. And my alone time, my recharge time was I'd go wander in the bush and sing little songs to myself. So I think that was really the first piece of music in my life that was mine. And then when I was pretty young still, this was 2008. So I can't do the math right now, but I was young. I was very young, preteen. One of my aunties enrolled me in a rocker girl camp. We were staying with her in Edmonton for one summer, and she kind of just threw me in there, knowing that I was interested in guitars and this and that. And that was really my first taste of the whole scene. And over the course of a couple days, we had to form a band, learn an instrument, write a song, and then we performed at the Roxy Theater in Edmonton. And I was
wow.
absolutely hooked from that first stage experience. I was like, whoa, what was that? That was cool. There's something there.
And what do you remember about that song?
I remember one of the lyrics, it's like, it was the first night and I was so scared. uh, it was the first night and I could have cried or something like that. It was about being afraid of being on stage the first time.
Okay,
There was
appropriate.
no fear once I actually was on the stage. It was all adrenaline, but the good kind, just exciting.
Okay. So did you grow up in a musical household? Was the farm, was the music playing around that time?
Not particularly, my mom had a guitar and that was my first introduction, I think, to that world. And she'd play it sometimes, but I think it goes further back in my line. There's musicians, but I don't think our household was particularly musical, which I think kind of had an interesting impact on me because I was very organic with what came out of me instead of being super influenced by what was around me. It really was more natural.
Where did you go after the rock camp, which sounds like hella fun?
It was so fun.
Where did you go with your music? Did that inspire you to kind of take it in a certain direction, or were you still kind of finding your sound back then?
Definitely was finding my sound, exploring it being a part of my life. I think after that, it really was like me in my bedroom, writing in my diary, and then those diary entries were also sometimes songs that I would teach myself on guitar. And I was really, super self taught at that stage and always have been. But um, it was kind of like this little cocoon metamorphosis moment, I think, of years of just it being for me before I showed the world what I'd been crafting. So I'd say it was a good 5 years of just it being my own personal respite.
Were you recording these songs or just playing them to yourself in your room?
Just playing them. I did the YouTube thing a little later on, and so I'd use my little, digital camera to record a song here and there. But I had no concept yet of how to create a demo or how to record myself. So a couple of YouTube videos, and that was really it until I was, I think, about 16, 17, and I started playing these songs outside, and I just had this inspiration one day. I'm like, I think I'm gonna go busk. I'm gonna go. It was, I can't remember what day it was. It was a holiday in Canada or something. So I knew that there'd be lots of people out and about. It was summertime. So I went down one of the classically busy streets in Winnipeg for foot traffic and just played a couple songs. And that day I met someone who introduced me to the now late Vince Fontaine, who then took me a little bit under his wing to just like introduce me to some folks in the music industry, encouraged me to apply for the NCI Jam, which was a super cool singing competition, all Indigenous back in the day. And that was like my first professional gig, this contest that I got into, and ended up winning first place, which was unprecedented for myself. I was just kind of playing around. And that was my first
Right.
then where I was like, oh, okay, well, this is fun, but maybe this is actually something I could do. And it kind of took off from there, and met some other folks who, again, took me under their wing and supported me creating what ended up being my first EP.
So you put out your first EP. When was that?
2013.
2013.
A while ago.
And then what happened? Because that's like, 9 years ago. I know you took a break. So can you explain what happened in the interim?
Some people call it a break. I call it survival mode. In between then and now, I ended up literally a couple weeks after I put out that record, I met my now ex-husband, and so I was super young. I was 18, and he was not that young, and it was a really unhealthy relationship, and I was in it for 6 years too long of the 6 years I was there. And really, I spent, a majority of my time just trying to keep my head above water, which is why this whole album is super water focused, this next one that's coming out, because I really was swimming very, very hard, trying to keep myself going. And I don't think I ever feel like I took a break from music. I took a break from releasing music, but I was gigging the entire time. I was working still in the industry for a large part of that, attending conferences and, still really actively pursuing it. But there was a really big force in my life that was quite intentionally rooting against my success, which I didn't even know till I got out. And it was quite the journey finding myself again after that, which is a lot of the storyline of this next record that I'm putting out right now.
So Foot Underwater comes out October 28th. So we're getting close. Are some of these songs, were they written in that time, or were they written after you got out of that relationship?
It's a combination. So the title track, Fool Underwater, I wrote now 8 years ago. I wrote it really early on in that relationship. It was a co-write between myself and my best friend, Hera, and she and I wrote this song kind of about something that she was going through, but ironically, I think it was actually exactly what I was in that exact same moment. So Fool Underwater is this idea that we came up of, where, water can be this super beautiful, romantic, inviting, safe thing, but also has this crazy power and can just wash you away. And before you know it, you're drowning yourself, and you're stuck in this, or you're trapped in this ocean. And there's a lot of layers to these waves. And so that song came about many years ago. And then a lot of it also came out right after I left. And I remember, and this is a true story, as I was packing my bag to leave right after everything just exploded in my life, and I realized, oh my God, I have to get out right now. The first thing that I said to myself was, okay, where am I going to go? And the second was, oh, these are going to be some good songs. And it's so cheesy, but that is genuinely the train of thought. And so one of my favorite songs on the album is called Girl, I See You. And that's another one that was co-written with Hera. The rest are songs that I wrote by myself, but another one that I love is this idea that with hindsight comes a lot of wisdom. And when you're really stuck in something, it's hard to know if it's going to be okay. And again, she and I were just both going through it. We're very much twin flames in this life. We're on a roller coaster at the same time. And we wanted to give ourselves advice from the perspective that we were way down the road and we know everything would work out and it's no big deal. And this is, things that you go through in your early 20s, maybe, and it's not quite as a massive deal as, another 10 years down the road with that growth. And so we wrote it, really to say like, I see you, I've been there, and it's okay. So we were, the people that we needed in that moment for ourselves.
And writing these songs, especially during the relationship, did it help you work out what was going on in the relationship that you weren't realizing because you were writing the songs and kind of it was coming out of you?
I don't think I was quite that ready yet. I don't think I was quite that ready. So it's kind of funny. I remember there's this one song. It didn't end up on the album, but I'm sure it'll be a release another time. I love this song. And I remember when I was writing it, my ex heard me and he walked up. He's like, "Is that about me?" And it's all about toxic relationships. And it wasn't in the moment about him. And then a couple years later, I finished the song because it was one of those ones that I knew there was something there, but I wasn't quite ready to finish it. So I put it away. And I realized, oh yeah, okay, it was about him. So it's funny because I think he was picking up on it before I even realized, ironically.
Right.
So yeah, I really didn't even know what I was in until I got out. It really was that much. There was that much gaslighting and brainwashing involved in this relationship that I didn't know which way was up until I got out, which was very tough to unpack once I was out. And, that's kind of when I hid away for a little while before I really started putting this album together. But no matter what, songwriting has absolutely been a form of therapy for me. It's a place where I can go to let something out. And I think I'm learning now to be more intuitive about it because oftentimes words might come out of me that I don't know whose words they are, but maybe they're mine and I need to listen.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, like you say, this therapy, and these songs on the album, is there a thread to it?
Definitely. I think the thread is resilience and reclamation and really listening deeply to yourself. One of the lines in Intuition, which was one of the first singles, is trust yourself, you know best. And that is the advice that I needed a long time ago when I was lying awake at night and I had these messages coming up and I was so afraid of them. I didn't know what it was and I'd stuff them back down because I didn't have the capacity to deal with it. And that really is what I want folks to take out of this record is to not have shame if you find yourself in something like this or you're healing for surviving a relationship like this, to take back your power when you're ready and to lean into yourself.
So writing these songs has obviously helped you kind of move on. And it sounds like you're hoping that it's going to help other people.
Yeah, definitely. These songs and a lot of therapy. It was a big combination of real therapy and these songs acting as that. And again, when I left, there was so much embarrassment. I was so ashamed that I was in this relationship because I was so lost, right? I had no clue that this had turned into what it was. And I really, I felt layers of shame. There's shame that a marriage ended. There was shame that I was in an abusive relationship, many different layers. And I sat with that for a while. And then, I think I got to the point where I realized enough was enough. I can't beat myself up for things that were out of my control and were very intentional and that I'd missed. And I don't want other women, especially other folks, it happens to everyone though, to go through that cycle of shame where I beat myself up for it for so long. So that's really what I'm hoping is to, by sharing my story and addressing these stigmas, to help reduce some of that for other folks.
Is it difficult to write songs that are so personal, but still leave them to interpretation?
Yeah, you know what? It's been a journey for sure. I know when I first started, it was very much like, hi, this is who I am. This is what's going on in my life. This is the exact situation I'm talking about. And I realized it was way more impactful if I did leave room for other people. So in a way, yes, it was a challenge to change the way that I wrote. But interestingly enough, I almost feel like I can hide behind the songs a little bit more if I speak metaphorically and I speak a little more vague because I'm not actually airing my dirty laundry the exact same way. That's what the live show is for. And the interview is where I pour it all out. So it's a mixture for sure, but I think it's definitely really important to leave space for the listener to hear herself in there too, or to hear themselves there, you know?
Yeah. And do you see any connection between the first record and this one? It's been a while.
I think the main connection is that it's still stories. You know, I'm not so much of an artist where it's here's a good bop you can dance to. It's really about, and I mean, I hope that happens just organically, but it really is more genuinely about being a storyteller and taking people on a journey. So I don't think that's changed at all. I think that's still at the core of who I am. And it's always been really important to me that, you know, the voice and the guitar, who I really am as an artist, is the center of this music. And I think that still really shines through. But Fool Underwater is absolutely my professional release into the world, my debut in a lot of ways. I've been here for a couple of minutes, but really this next level metamorphosis of here I am. This is the Ila Barker that I'm ready for folks to see.
Do you like being in the water? Are you one of those people that feels calm in the water?
I am. It's bizarre to me that this theme just kind of came out because, especially in high school, when I was really stressed out, I used to go walk to the community pool at lunchtime and I would just swim. And I grew up swimming. I was a lifeguard for years.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of like my relationship with this past person happened in Mexico, which is a lot of the branding is coming through. And we spent a lot of time in the ocean, and it was kind of this interesting thing. We would travel twice a year to this little surfer town, and we both surfed. And when we were there, it seemed like all of the problems in our relationship would just drift off. And he was this nice guy that I thought he was again, and he would treat me right. And it was almost like this little sanctuary from the abuse. It was very, very not healthy. And I mean, eventually that too, the veil of that kind of slipped off eventually as well, you know, and it was getting harder to pretend all the time for him. And water, though, has been this very interesting theme throughout my life. And I've noticed that when I'm really stressed, I just stop drinking water. Like it's weird in so many ways. Like I have to really force myself to even hydrate. So there's a lot of teachings there, you know. I think as an Indigenous, as an Anishinaabe Kwe too, there's a lot of teachings, some that I still need to receive around water, but there's definitely something there specifically for me as a person, I think.
So a lot of these songs are coming out just you and a guitar, I guess.
These ones, so that's the heart of it, but this record is a full band record. Since the new year, I've been performing most of my shows with a full band. So this record definitely, it does rock a little harder than the first one. You know, the first one, folksy and very good songwriter, and this next one it has major undertones of rock in it, which I'm very excited for. It's so fun to play.
Yeah, but
yeah, the electric guitar is just wailing here and there. And there's moments of softness too, but definitely bigger and brighter Ila.
And who helped you make this record?
So this record was produced with me, with Sierra Noble and Rusty.
Who I spoke to last year.
Nice, sweet. Yeah, they're the best. And it was such a cool process working with two extremely proficient musicians with a very, very long history of performing live and vocal work. And, you know, I don't even know how many instruments they play between the two of them. So it was this really fun playground where we went into this dope studio and created some really fun art together. Yeah, and I brought these songs, you know, pretty much finished to them. And so we were able to just dive right into playing very quickly. And we had the opportunity to record it all at this new studio in Winnipeg called No Fun. And it's, again, a playground. It's a neat place. So
why is it called No Fun then?
Because no fun till it's done. I don't know specifically. That's their little slogan, though, is no fun till it's done. I think it's ironic. It's
right, yeah.
The world, but you got to get some hard work done first.
So this channel is all about the music you make, but also the music you listen to. So a couple of quick fire questions. What's the first album that you fell in love with?
The first album that I ever fell in love with was a Jack Johnson record. I I think it's called Sleep Through the Static. Let's see here. And uh it just impacted me so strongly. It was the first song off the record. And yeah, Sleep Through the Static, 2008. And you can hear the room. You can hear him breathing. You can hear the static of the amp, the little hum of it, you know? And that, I don't know why, but it punched me in the gut in the nicest of ways and was so impactful. I've listened to that record probably 100 times. And I think Jack is definitely, I'm trying to call him, you know, by first name so that it's like as if I know him because I want to one day work with him. So it's, you know, my
Yeah.
old pal Jack. We're manifesting here.
It's in the universe now.
Right? It's out there. Me and my pal Jack. I felt like I was sitting in the room with him while he was playing this when I listened to that record. And he's a storyteller too. And that made me want to make music before I even knew that that's what I was going to do.
Do you feel like that's the record you've listened to more than any other in your life?
Definitely, I go back to that one a lot. I go all over the place though with listening. The one that I think it's really like flavor of the week for me. Like, what am I obsessed with right now? Overall, I probably listen to that one maybe the most. I'm curious. I'd have to like check the actual stats in my my Apple here. But I'm really into Leona Lewis too, who is a huge vocalist. And she's someone that like I practice with where I try to hit all these crazy runs and notes. And I think that my pal, you know, Leona, she's really helped me out with even just my vocal proficiency. And then the stuff though that if I want to like listen for the fun and I'm not trying to like get inspired or practice my vocals, I listen to a lot of my friends, you know?
Yeah.
Like my friend Jade Turner just put out a song called Stay Wild Child. And I think I tear up genuinely every time I hear this song. She wrote it about her little boy and it's the sweetest song. It's such a good song. She shared it with me a couple of months before she put it out and I told her like this is going to be big. This is going to be a good song and it's doing really really well. She just put it out a couple weeks ago and it's like top of the charts on satellite radio and doing super well.
Cool.
So that one I've had on repeat and then also Kaylee Jade, another Indigenous artist from Canada here. She just put out a new record and there's a song called Just Like You. It features Julian Taylor and that's another one that like good singer-songwriter vibes and it just impacts me. So I think really like the common thread is music that makes me feel because that's what I want to do for other people. It's not so much about like letting loose and party and woo. It's really about like having this emotional roller coaster. I don't know why. But that's what I want to do to people is suck them in and take them on a journey, you know? And those are a couple of songs that have been doing that to me lately.
Yeah, nice. But sometimes you do like you need to let loose and like cut a rug. So if it's Saturday night, you've got all your friends around at the house. What are you putting on?
Ruby Waters, absolutely.
Oh, nice.
With Ruby right now, and she is actually somebody that I've had the opportunity to work with a little bit. We were both just in the first ever Indigenous song camp with SoCan at Kilometer Music Group in Toronto, and she's such a good songwriter. She's such a good singer and musician, and really doing well both here and in the States right now. It's really exciting watching her blow up. And so she's someone like, yeah, if I want to let loose a little bit, we're putting on Ruby and we're going to rock out a bit.
Okay. And last question. If there's one artist you could go on tour with, like opening shows for them, in your dream scenario, who would you pick?
Oh, I mean, I really like Ruby is actually literally on the list. And I've like, you know, been working on
That could happen.
That one that could actually happen.
Let's dream big. Yeah.
The wild, crazy one is definitely Jack. Absolutely. My good old pal, Jack.
Yeah.
Going on tour. And I had a kind of a moment. You know how they say like there's a couple of degrees of separation between everybody, right? And so far I couldn't really connect the dots with Jack. But then a couple of months ago, my friend Emily Wardamata, who is from Australia. I'm sorry I'm pretty sure it's Australia, not New Zealand, but she's from down under.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that because they get upset.
I know it's because they're not the same. Like it's like putting like America and Canada side by side. We're not
Yeah.
the same. So I'm sorry, Emily, if I got it wrong. I'm pretty sure she and I met in Canada, but she went on tour with him. And so I was like, okay, we are now 1 degree of separation apart. So me and my good old pal Jack, my best friend Jack Johnson, and I will be going on tour.
The colliding.
If anybody knows him, I'm very eager. Just kidding. That's the
Amazing.
dream. Yeah, I think that'd be the number one in that scene. Yep. Yeah, 100% Jack. We'll go with Jack.
Excellent. Have you got time for one more question?
For sure.
Because I wanted to ask you about Air Sessions.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
So Air Sessions is a program that I started about 4 years ago. It stands for Artist in Residence Sessions. And I created this program when I saw that there was a need for reoccurring, sustainable, set in stone programming. There's a lot of one-offs going on where I'd be invited as a mentor for a day or a weekend or a week. And I found that I noticed a lot of the youth would be just getting into it, and sharing music is an incredibly vulnerable process. And they'd be just getting into it and then it would end. And okay, goodbye forever, you know? And that really bothered me. It just didn't feel good. It didn't feel, you know, decolonized enough for the kind of programming that I wanted to access as an artist and that I thought would be helpful for other folks. And so I reached out to the National Arts Center, who had done a one-off program with me as a guest mentor. And I said, I have this idea. I don't know exactly even what it is. Can I have some money? Can I please have some money and try to do this? And they were really, really encouraging and eager to jump on board to create something together. And they helped me pilot something like, let's do something short term, see what you can create. And it was super fun. And I was able to engage a lot of local partners to help make it happen. Long story short, 4 years later, I'm now fully funded for 3 full more years from Canada Council for the Arts. The National Arts Centre handed it off to me, which means now it's fully by Indigenous for Indigenous, which is really cool. And at the heart of it, I connect emerging and pre-emerging Indigenous artists with resources, mentorship, networking, and connections with established artists and industry throughout the scene, and have created a space where we can come together and pool our resources, learn from one another, and find community. And it's really fun.
Amazing. Good for you.
Thank you. It's my baby. That's my why. You know, you get asked a lot, why do you do this? What for the purpose of all this? Because singing songs and traveling is very fun. And that's, you know, what inspired me, I think, at the start of this career. But it's important to me that I'm doing more than just singing a song. And so I wanted to create space to give back, because without the mentorship that I have received along the way, I never would have been able to do this. And I wanted to make sure that this path that we're on as Indigenous artists, and it really is a very specific lane, I think, for many of us, I wanted that path to just be a little bit easier, to be a little bit more tread and forged for the wave of Indigenous talent coming behind us.
Yeah, amazing. So I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best with this new album. It feels like a bit of a rebirth for sure. And
very, very much. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next with you. So it's been really fun chatting with you. So thanks very much for your time.
Likewise, I really appreciate it. And I hope that, we can keep connecting, and people listening, I hope you come and find me on Instagram and all the places.
Yeah. Where can people find you on all the places?
Definitely Instagram is the place that I spend the most time at, and that's Ila Barker Music. But everywhere, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, all of the listening spaces, YouTube, Facebook. I'm trying to do the TikTok thing.
You have to be everywhere.
Yeah, all the good ones.
We'll put all the links below the video so people can find you. So, all right, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again.
Thank you kindly. Take care for now.
Bye.
Hope you feel good. See ya.
Bye.